We have a California auditor flagging 8 high-risk programs costing billions of dollars.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
And we have team coverage. Our national correspondent Alana Austin is on Capitol Hill with more on the investigations into Tim Walz. But we start with correspondent Heather Myers, who has more on what is going on in California. A rainy day out there on the West Coast. Heather, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Katrina and Andrew. This latest report was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies to watch out for things like fraud and mismanagement as well as waste. Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters. Then there are infrastructure issues like California's deteriorating dams and also the high-speed train that's already cost taxpayers $18 billion without a single section of track complete.
Jeez, man, I almost spit out my coffee with all these prices. 32 billion, 8 billion, 2.5 billion. Jeez, Louise.
Reports cite $24 billion spent on the homeless issue that critics claim the state lost track of. More recently, there's a report that says California cell phone users paid a surcharge for years to upgrade the state's 911 system. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley talking about what happened to that plan.
That after spending $650 million on that system, the state is totally scrapping it and starting over, completely wasted the money because the technology doesn't work. Mind you, we are very close to Silicon Valley in Sacramento, and yet the government can't figure out how to make basic technology perform.
Folks, we're not done. As you saw, let me make sure I get it back on the screen for all of you. As you saw, December 11th, there was an update. And the California State Auditor, as you just saw, flagged 8 separate state programs as high risk, meaning prone to fraud, waste, abuse, outright failure. And together, if you combine all of it, it involved tens of billions of dollars of our money. The Department of Social Services. So let's start with CalFresh, which is California's food stamp program that they referred to here in the video that we just saw. According to the audit, error rates are above federal limits. If nothing changes, taxpayers could be on the hook for $2.5 billion by 2028. That's not fraud, by the way. That's not fraud being caught. That's fraud being built into the system. And California is literally overpaying at a scale and calling it compassion. This is insane, bro. You also have unemployment fraud, and it's still not fixed. $1.5 billion, and it's counting. It's going up. Remember the COVID unemployment disaster? Well, the auditor does, because California still has $1.5 billion in improper unemployment payments on the books. Years later, the same agencies, by the way, paid for foreign fraud rings, paid fake identities, and the system still remains broken. Not a problem. It's totally like Minnesota. All of you said, Minnesota's the ones being beaten down, but California's doing the exact same thing on a way greater scale. Medi-Cal, what about that? Well, Medi-Cal is $1.9 billion. Healthcare is losing track of billions, losing track. Medi-Cal, California's Medicaid program. Auditors found accounting discrepancies, poor oversight, documentation failures, and potential exposure. $1.9 billion in questioned cost. That's healthcare funding vanishing in paperwork black holes. That's a clerical error. Look the other way, no problem. Just almost $2 billion with a B. What about COVID money still sitting around? Unspent, untracked, unaccountable, maybe? So while Californians were locked down and Gavin Newsom and his nut jobs go out for nice dinners with each other at the French Laundry, well, businesses shut down and kids fall behind. Billions in COVID relief funds were never properly tracked or spent. Gee, I wonder where all that money could have gone. Kind of like the homeless problem too. Never tracked, never spent. Maybe it was spent. If it was spent, it went to weird people, odd people, millionaires, billionaires. Huh. Weird. Billions in COVID relief funds were never properly tracked. Now the state can't even clearly explain where all of it went or why it's still sitting unused while deficits explode. Well, I don't know. It's always, I don't know. Do you notice that whenever there's some sort of, I don't know. That's not mine. Ever seen that show Cops where somebody gets caught? No, I don't know how that got in there. Really, bro? You had like a kilo of Coke up your tushy. That's odd. What about cybersecurity failures and disasters? I mean, this report is so damning. I know none of us are shocked because I live here. The audit also flagged serious cybersecurity gaps, delayed IT projects, systems years behind schedule, and massive costs that have just overrun and it just exploded. In a state obsessed with regulating Silicon Valley, the government itself can't manage basic technology. It's so remarkable how there's all these regulations. You don't have to look any further than what's going on with the EPA in the state of California, but also what's going on over there in the Palisades, where the Palisades fire was, where people still can't build their properties because of regulations and they can't get permits. But yet when the government doesn't do something right, look the other way, no big deal, no problem. It's amazing how all this stuff comes down on you as the taxpayer, the one that's basically funding all this corruption, but yet nothing happens to these people at high levels. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know where $2 billion went, $32 billion. Just went somewhere. Infrastructure rot. 52 dams at risk. 5-2, folks. Yes, 552. It's amazing. It's the same way when you throw these big numbers out like this, where we had 43 oil refineries back from the 1980s, and today now we have 5. When you start looking at stuff on a holistic view of the damaging effects of the Democrat Party in this state, it's indefensible. It really is. 52 state dams are in deteriorating condition. Reports are delayed. Repairs have been stalled. Risk is only increasing with these. And by the way, this isn't theoretical. This is physical infrastructure decay with billions wasted elsewhere or just not being spent at all, according to what we saw with COVID. The response they're giving everybody to all this, oh, we're working on it. We'll get it done. Isn't that so similar to what Joey said for 4 years? We'll fix it. What's an example? Illegal immigration. It's just a situation. It's just a challenge. We'll get to it when we get to it, but don't worry. We also are working on it, but we'll get to it when we get to it. And they never did, right? They just allowed millions of people to pour across the border. It's incredible. State agencies have responded with the usual script. Here's some quotes for all of you that they're saying. So not only are we working on it, right? They said we've made progress. We dispute some findings. You got to love that, the word some. And then reforms are underway. How about my money? How do I get that back? Also, who got my money? Because nothing's being done. It's only gotten worse. I mean, it's so remarkable how Democrats continue to fund things that never lead you anywhere or make matters worse. Who does that, by the way? Would you ever pay a contractor and continue to pay the idiot that's making your house objectively worse? Would you continue to shell out all that money? Would you keep going to an auto mechanic that keeps making your car worse? He's not actually fixing it or making it better and improving upon it. He's just, I don't know, stealing the tires from it, taking out the engine so the thing doesn't actually run away. Would you continue to pay that guy? I don't think so. It's silly analogies, but it totally makes sense on an individual level. The auditor wasn't buying it, by the way. The report calls for urgent fixes, especially as California faces massive budget deficits. But don't worry, we have 4% GDP over the fourth biggest industry economy in the world. Yeah, that's what the Democrats in my state keep saying. Oh, don't worry, yeah, we're still fourth. Wow, you can label one point that he's good at, which he had no involvement in. It's just, it really drives you up the wall. You also have fraud capital of America. So Kevin Kiley, as you saw, he says the quiet part out loud. He said California is becoming the fraud capital of the world. Yeah, all the highlights on Minnesota. How about you come here and start looking under the hood of what's going on in my state? Because the stuff you're going to find, I don't think there's greater fraud in the entirety of the United States of America, the entire union. When programs reward volume over verification, DEI replaces oversight, and bureaucracy replaces accountability, fraud isn't a bug, man. It is a business model. It's systemic in this state. This is when you have decades of one-party control that produces decades of, not compassion, not efficiency or equity whatsoever, but a system where billions disappear, audits just warn things, don't actually fix anything. Politicians shrug it off, by the way. And taxpayers pay the bill. We're the ones that get reamed and screwed, and Democrats love it. They say, thank you, sir, may I have another? California doesn't have a money problem, it has a governance problem. In the same way we saw this on a federal level. We didn't have a just a party problem. We had a president problem and a party problem at the same time. And all it took was Donald Trump to come in office and fix things. If you enjoyed what you saw here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, folks. We go live each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we have a book called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Everything can be found at my website, baldbrad.com. Again, that's baldbrad.com. Appreciate you.